Legend has it, there was once a mascot named Rayman. As the story goes, they used to make video games about him. Then Ubisoft killed him for NFTs. The Rayman series went from being one of the big boys to being a terrible Greek tragedy. Rayman spent years in hell with these dumb rabbits playing these lame-ass gimmicky as hell minigames. But then he came back again, and then he immediately disappeared. Again. The last mainline Rayman game came out in the year 2013, and even though everybody seemed to like it a lot, Ubisoft decided that instead of using their energy to make more good Rayman games, they would just redirect it towards ruining Assassin's Creed. Sadly, it seems like Rayman has joined ranks with Banjo-Kazooie as another beloved mascot in a dead series of games that the owners can't be arsed to make a new game for. But, I mean, at least we got that Splinter Cell remake. However, much like Banjo, the fans have started taking it into their own hands to carry the torch and continue the series, and that brings us to today's topic. Rayman Redemption is Rayman's redemption arc. It's described as a fan-made reimagining of the original Rayman on the PlayStation from 1995. Now, before I talk about this game, I have to make it clear that my experience with the original Rayman is relatively limited. Most of my experience with the Rayman series altogether was chiefly with Rayman 2: The Great Escape. I mean, considering they made 3 billion different ports of that game, I can only assume that this is the one that Ubisoft really wanted people to play. That being said, I did play a bit of the Game Boy Advance port of Rayman. It wasn't the absolute ideal way to play the game, but it was more than serviceable enough. I also had the game on PC, except there was no sound because we had a broken ass Windows 95 shitbox with garbage ass speakers that broke after 3 seconds of use. With Rayman Redemption, I finally have a chance to go back and play this game in a more brushed up, contemporary manner. And I gotta say, this is a pretty good game.
I hope we get a new one of those.
The original Rayman was released at a time when 2D platformers still had center stage. Although it was a transitional time for the industry with 3D starting to emerge, 2D platformers still retained much of their status as the default expectation of what a video game was. Of course, you had the big boys like Mario, Sonic, and Funky Monkey Donkey Country, but there were also a bunch of other lesser known titles trying to get in on the action. Now, when you're making a new game and a new series in a genre that is already kinda saturating the market, how do you make yourself stand out? Well, you do what you always do. You make the graphics good. The art direction in Rayman 2 is absolutely phenomenal. This was true when it came out 26 years ago, this is true today, and it remains very true of this remake. The environments are ridiculously detailed and stylized. It's an extremely distinctive game. You can look at it from a mile away and you can tell, oh yeah, that's Rayman. The animations are so smooth and detailed and expressive. This is a world that breathes personality and imagination and whimsy. It's so alive, it's so animated, it's so active. You can almost smell the sweet air of the forest. One thing I noticed is that you start out with a lot of the important moves from the get-go, like punching and running and using your helicopter hair. From my vague memories with the GBA version, Rayman started out being downright useless with basically no moves at all. You had to unlock even something as basic as the fucking punching of all things. Another thing I absolutely love about the remake is the addition of the casual mode. The core difference that makes this such a game changer is the infinite lives. The original game had a finite number of lives and limited continues from my memory. That'd be alright for a game like the original Super Mario Bros, which can be beaten in 15 minutes, but it ends up being a detriment in a big, sprawling adventure with secrets and collectibles like Rayman. It's kinda detrimental to the pacing because you're forced to redo so much bullshit when you lose all your lives, and it is very easy to die in this game. So it is impossible to overstate what a great feature Infinite Lives is. Rayman is absolutely fun as hell. As a platformer, it's a little bit mixed sometimes. There are some areas that are just kind of really annoying and frustrating, but most of the time it's actually very consistent and fun. Running and jumping and punching enemies while collecting the shinies is just very satisfying. The boss fights are deceptively intense. They look funny and crazy, but some of them are actually pretty nuts. This isn't like 2D platformer Dark Souls or anything like that, but it's remarkably engaging. It is worth noting that I still haven't completed the entire game, but I did get a substantial chunk of the way through. I think my favorite parts of this game are the music levels with these slippery slopes where you can just fucking book it like Sonic the Hedgehog, sliding under obstacles and jumping over shit, but everything around that is fantastic too. Rayman Redemption makes Rayman even better than I remember it being when I played it as a kid. If somebody asked me what's the best way to play OG Rayman, on short answer, I would probably tell them to play this. It is that good. Now, this would usually be where I end things, but since we're already talking about Rayman, I figured now would be as good a time as any to bring up something almost completely unrelated. Rayman DooM. Yeah, I would have tried to make this its own episode, but it's a little too short and brief to constitute an entire day. Bath Doom was the exception, not the rule. So I decided to talk about it here. That's right, buckos, today you get a double feature, because it's Christmas, so why wouldn't you? Rayman DooM is a Doom wad that does pretty much exactly what you probably expected it to do. Put Rayman in Doom and give him a shotgun. This ain't no raving rabbit's bitch boy time anymore. This is a real man's game now. From what I can tell, the game is based chiefly on Rayman 2. Most of the textures and models and characters are taken from there. Basically, it's 5 levels made to look like the robot pirate fortresses from the original game, and they're populated with the robot pirate enemies. They're complete with all their sound effects and all their variants. Rayman now makes Rayman sounds whenever he gets hurt. You pick up red lums in order to get your health back. You can see Glowbox and the Teensies being carted off to some slave factory in the background, all while engaging in some classic Doom fuckery, blowing robots to hell with a super shotgun as Rayman. What more could you possibly ask from any game? The image of Rayman's face getting bloody as he loses health is kinda hilarious in a sick way. It almost feels like some kind of metaphor for Ubisoft's misuse and neglect of the IP. Or maybe I'm just overthinking it. My question is, why is the music taken from Quake 2? Don't get me wrong, I'm not really complaining. I love Quake 2's soundtrack, but I don't get why it's there. I mean, I guess it is another id Software game and it sounds really cool either way, so maybe I should just shut my mouth, I don't know. In any case, this was the Rayman episode. It is nice to see that even if Ubisoft doesn't want to touch Rayman anymore, the fans will be more than happy to keep his memory alive, and I hope they continue to do so far into the future. But in any case, that's going to be it for today's present, but tune in tomorrow for our next unwrapping. Can you guess what it is? I won't give it away, but rest assured that it's very, new.